I'm going to put record on, so I have it going on mine. Okay, so that's good. I can pause it here.
Welcome to the virtual Poncha Springs Trustee, League of Women Voters of Chaffee County Virtual Candidate Forum. I'm Scott Hartman, League of Women Voters Voter Services Coordinator and tonight's moderator. Thanks to candidates incumbents Adrian Quintana and Darryl Wilson and challengers Katie Davis and Evalyn Parks for participating this evening. There are 3 open seats with the 4 candidates. Also would like to thank League volunteers Margie Gray, Carol Morovka, Barb Brady, and Mary Helen Dunn. And thanks to the audience for tuning in tonight. Ballots have been distributed. The actual election day is Tuesday, April 5th. If anybody in the audience would like to add questions to the questions that we already have generated, you may put them in chat and just address them to everybody. These are the standard opening comments prior to the start of the forum. The League of Women Voters of Chaffee County is recording this forum, which will be available on their website, LWVCC.org, in the next few days. The League requests anyone who utilizes this recording in any format, please respect the League's nonpartisanship. Follow the FCC rules to preserve the context or intent of what is being said and air the recording in its entirety. The League is a nonpartisan organization encouraging the informed and active participations of citizens in government and influencing public policy through education and advocacy. The League of Women Voters of Chaffee County does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. Names were drawn earlier to determine the candidates' order for their 2-minute introductory statements. And that order is as follows. We're going to start with Darryl, followed by Katie, Adrian, and Evalyn. Closing 1-minute remarks will be in the opposite order. I would like to just be seeing the candidates and myself as the moderator on the screen. And I guess we're all set to go with opening statements. 2 minutes. And I'll give you a reminder like this at 15 seconds. And then I will put this up and tell you to stop if you get all the way to the 2 minutes. So we're going to start with Darryl. And I should let people know Darryl is has a conductivity situation where he is. And we're going to hear him, but we're not going to see him tonight. So Darryl, you're there, and go ahead and get started.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Name is Darryl Wilson. Running for the board again. To be my 3rd term. I think we've done a lot of work the last 8 years and done some great things in Poncha Springs. Like to keep that going. I enjoy the board. I enjoy the town of Poncha Springs. I'd like to keep it where it's at and even go further. We have a lot of projects on the table. I'm not going to go into all that now. Sorry about the video, but I think if I go to video, it will just wipe me out completely. So I am on vacation right now, but not a problem to take a few moments out of my time to speak to the forum and take care of a little business. Thank you.
Thanks, Darryl. Katie?
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. And thanks, League of Women Voters. My name is Katie Davis. On the ballot, you'll see me as Catherine Katie Davis because that's the name that ended up being written down. But most people know me as Katie Davis. I just returned back to Chaffee County and was able to purchase a home in Poncha Springs in November of 2020. I was living out in the Pacific Northwest for about 10 years, making a living. So I had to leave the area. But before I left Salida and Buena Vista and a little bit in Poncha Springs, I was working as a realtor, one of those dreaded realtors, and also for the City of Salida Parks and Recreation Department as their recreation coordinator. And let's see what else. I also worked for Monarch Mountain. I think everybody's worked for Monarch Mountain. So yes, I moved back here and I brought my work with me, but have since left my work behind and am doing some more freelance consulting in the community, which I'm really excited about. I am a secretary on the Chaffee County Community Foundation, and I also was a founding board member of the Salida Circus Outreach Foundation. I know nothing about circus tricks. I was very much the strategic planning, business planning side of things, but certainly enjoy seeing the growth and evolution of that organization. And this is my first time in, I guess you would say, politics. I have stayed behind the curtain for a good part of my life and hidden out of view, kind of doing more writing and background research, but decided with a little bit of support from friends to go ahead and get my signatures and give this a shot, see what happens. So grateful to be here today. Thanks to all of you for watching, and nice to meet you, Evalyn, Adrian, and Darryl.
Thank you, Katie. Adrian. Adrian, you're muted.
That always helps.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Had to be somebody.
All right. Hey, thanks for your time. Thanks for everybody here. A little bit about me. I live here in Poncha, 622 East Poncha Avenue. Lived here since 2006. I pretty much have lived in Chaffee County, worked in Chaffee County for 90% of my adulthood. I built houses for 17 years. I currently work at Colorado Department of Transportation, which I've been there for 11 years now. Ran for trustee in 2014. There was many years of living here, not seeing any improvements, not seeing much being done. Began to
I'm
follow
muted.
along.
I'm muted. Don't worry.
You're on your,
I'm on my Zoom. Yeah, it's a debate forum.
Stuff, Darryl.
Hey,
Up in the
Darryl, you're not muted. Now you're muted. Now you're unmuted. Anyway, just started noticing what was going on, got involved. And, after seeing all that, I was elected, found ways to give back to the community, worked on financials. I think we've come a long way since then. We've fixed our water system, working on capital projects at the moment. We got a lot of things in the works right now. I'm proud to be on this board and represent this town. I feel our board works together very well, and everything is positive, and I'm looking forward to running again and being reelected and continue our goal.
Thanks, Adrian. Evalyn. Evalyn?
I'm here. Hi, good evening. Thank you, Scott, and Women League of Women Voters again for this forum. So a little bit about myself. Let's say I'm Evalyn Parks. I graduated from Salida School District, moved away, then came back. I've been here since 1999, 2000. I have been with the school district now since then, so 21 years. I have been the Salida Transportation Director for the last 15 years, I think, something like that. I don't know, I lost track of time. Know my budgets. I love Poncha Springs. I love what's going on. The reason I'm running is because, like Adrian, I opened my mouth and now I need to insert my foot and go forward. And I'm willing to try and learn. And I think Poncha Springs is going places, but I still want to try to keep it a community. I don't want to see it overrun like some areas have. And I want to be able to be part of that. I want to be able to help. I have my grandsons here. I want to see them grow up in a good community. And basically that's it. Everybody pretty much knows me. I'm transportation. I do my budgets. I'm a very quick thinker. So I'm very good logistics. That's about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Evalyn, and all of you. And we'll get started with the questions and answers. First question is going to go to Katie, followed by everybody will answer the same question in this order: Katie, Darryl, Adrian, Evalyn. 1 minute for this answer. What are your top priorities for the town of Poncha Springs and how would you address them? Katie.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think my top priorities, I know my top priorities for Poncha Springs, and I saw this as a theme with all of our comments in the various periodicals, is around housing and making sure that housing is accessible to multiple generations. I mean, Evalyn talked about having grandsons and Adrian talked about having kids coming back, and that is not the reality right now. So I would say that is my top priority. And also I am a fundraiser and I am a strategic planner. That's what I do for a living. And being able to use those skills to identify opportunities, in increments, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, that allow this community, Poncha Springs, to grow sustainably and also have a budget that can support this growth. And I just plan to address them using my skill set and being able to ask really good questions and push back when it needs to be pushed back and find where there is consensus and build from there.
Thank you. Okay, now we know how that's going to work. Okay, Darryl, same question. What are your top priorities for the town of Poncha Springs and how would you address them?
Top priorities, well, Katie hit it on the head. I mean, the housing is a big problem Chaffee County wide. We've been addressing that problem for the last 8 years, and we're starting to see the results of it now with the building that's coming in and more and more people driving in or arriving. We'll get to that. Like I said, we've laid the groundwork for the last 8 years. With the water, with the building codes, and we'll just keep going forward in that direction.
Okay, thank you. Same question for Adrian. What are your top priorities for the town of Poncha Springs and how would you address them?
Well, I'm going to reiterate what Darryl said. The last 8 years we have planned ahead. We did see some of this coming. I don't think we've seen it to the extreme that it has happened. We finished our land use code, fine-tuned that, made it more available for people to be here. Developments have came, we approved that to try to allow for some lower prices, plan for water. We're sitting good there. And I think eventually it's got to slow down at some point. And I think when it does, I think we'll be sitting good and in a good position for the future generations to be here.
Okay, thanks. And Evalyn, same question. What are your top priorities for the town of Poncha Springs and how would you address them?
Well, like everybody else, housing is always everybody's big thing, and that's my big thing. The last 8 years of what I've seen, and I've seen it grow. I've seen everybody use quote unquote the low income housing, but that's not an answer. It's not low income housing, it's workforce housing that we need to address. Yeah, people have come in here, people have bought homes, but I see a lot of people out there that can't buy homes. My employees, for one, we have a lot of low income housing per se, but not workforce housing. And that's my big thing is workforce housing, not low income housing, workforce housing. Just a census. That's what I want to work on. I want to be able to bring Chaffee County together as a whole to address this problem. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Perfect timing. Must be an apple. Second question, and we're starting with Darryl on this. Darryl, Adrian, Evalyn, Katie. What will guide your financial and budgeting decisions?
Well, that all comes down to the tax revenue of the town, which at this moment keeps going up as we keep going in the direction we're going. We keep drawing businesses in, which increases that number, and we have good reserves right now. When I got on the board 8 years ago, we were in a totally different financial situation. It was going the wrong way. We've turned that around, and we're in very good financial position. We have a ability to plan out 5-10 years with the sidewalk improvements, the road improvements. Like we mentioned before, the water project, that will keep the town fine with water for at least 100 years. And we'll just keep with that. I mean, you just don't spend money you don't have, and you have to keep a good reserve. And we're in a good point right now to do all of that.
Thank you. Okay, Adrian, what will guide your financial and budgeting decisions?
Well, what has guided it so far, and it's just smart thinking, collaborative thinking. I think we've done well. As Darryl said, when we both got on the board at the same time, our financials were not good. We were really top heavy, and we didn't have money to afford to do any work, no capital projects. Now, since we've been on, we've created the new water infrastructure. We've capital projects, curb and gutter, and new surface treatments for streets. And we've done all this without any cost to the town. We've never taxed the town. We've never raised rates. The only rates that we have raised were tap fees. Tap fees continue to bring the town a lot of money. So right now, I think just smart thinking and, business revenue is important. So, I think we're catering to the business community, and hopefully that takes off.
Thank you. Another perfectly timed. Evalyn, same question. What will guide your financial and budgeting decisions? You're muted, Evalyn.
There it is. Now the button's hit. Hey, yeah, it's all that Zoom stuff. Anyway, so like Darryl and Adrian said, I've watched over the last year, I've been paying more attention. So I've seen how they've worked on it. So to guide me is going to be my financial. I am a very penny pincher. I'm a watcher of money. I watch financials. I want to learn on how that is. They have done an awesome job of bringing stuff up. And so to answer your question, the finance budgets is just keeping it going strong and steady. And like you said, not taxing us to death. So watching everything we need to do and bringing business in to help.
Great, thank you. We've had a couple questions here from the people who have not been on the board. Before I ask this question, do you know anything about the Fading West home project that's happening? Nod your head, Katie and Evalyn, if you know about it. No? Oh, in Buena Vista. No, it's in Fading West out of Buena Vista, but happening in Poncha Springs. That may not be a fair question right now.
Happening? Not happening.
Not happening?
Scott, Katie hasn't answered yet, I don't believe.
Who hasn't? Oh, I'm sorry.
Question 2.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's that Zoom thing. Evalyn, I'm right with you.
All right.
Okay, sorry. Katie, what will guide your financial and budgeting decisions?
Well, I think Adrian used the word collaborative approach, and that is probably my number one, is ensuring that we are using the skill sets of the people on the board. It may not be that I have as much history as some of the others, so that, as well as a clearer understanding on what our priorities are. I'm really, really excited and happy to hear that we do have reserves. I think that that is a critical piece, because as we learned in the last couple of years with the pandemic, things can just sort of happen. and then you're sort of back on your feet or on your heels trying to figure out what to do. So knowing what we have in the reserves, having a clear sense of what are the priorities, what are the tier 1 needs, like we need this now, and then what are tier 2, tier 3 needs, so that we can start to budget out from there, and relying heavily on the knowledge that's already on the board and in the community to help to identify those priorities and budgeting needs.
Thank you. Next question, and this one is coming off the comments. This is going to be starting with Adrian, followed by Evalyn, Katie, Darryl. Right now, Poncha Springs pays a county sheriff deputy, but as the town grows, what are your thoughts on the need for increasing policing capabilities? Adrian.
Yeah, great. We started off, that was a need for the town. We have codes to enforce, and we weren't able to do that. It was a burden to the sheriff's office to do that, and we worked hard to put this together. We do have a deputy now dedicated to us that we pay. With that, we also have a prosecutor and a district attorney. We hold small court right now. Moving forward, that's gonna have to happen. This town is growing, and we can't rely on the job for one person. And so usually getting into a position like that, it becomes a tax to the people to pay for that. And we've done our best to work around so far, but our ultimate goal is to have a full police force moving forward, but do that with little impact to the town.
Thank you. Evalyn, I'm going to ask the same question. I sort of paraphrased it off the chat here. As Poncha Springs grows, what are your thoughts on the need for increasing policing capabilities?
So I agree with Adrian. This town, right now we do have one that we pay for. I know the person he's talking about. And as we grow, we need our own police force. We need at least something here that's protecting our citizens and our businesses. It is a growing need as our town grows, that we do need one. So yes, I'm very much for having our own police force or sheriff or whatever you want to call them, to where they are Poncha Springs and not shared. You know, we can collaborate with other departments, of course, Elida and Chaffee County and whatever. But yes, we do need a police force here. That's the one thing that definitely needs to happen.
Okay, thank you. Katie? The question on policing. As Poncha Springs grows, what are your thoughts on the need for increasing policing capabilities?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Evalyn and Adrian that I do think that we are growing at a rate where having, it's a need that we need to address, have our own police force. I think where I start to shift a bit is identifying, what are the specific needs, maybe looking at data year over year, and what sort of situations have arisen, and whether there are other resources across the county that we can leverage as we incrementally build up, because it is going to take money and it may take taxing to be able to have some sort of police force that is Poncha Springs focused. So from my approach would be a little bit differently, in agreement that yes, having police force and having that support in Poncha Springs for Poncha Springs is critical, and figuring out, okay, how do we prioritize and identify what the needs now are, and what the needs will be as we continue to grow, probably as fast as we are growing right now.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we're going to start with, Darryl, I'm sorry.
Darryl.
That's strike two. As
That's all right, Scott.
As Poncha Springs grows, what are your thoughts on the need for increasing policing capabilities?
Well, I agree. We're gonna need it eventually. I do like the dedicated sheriff in Poncha Springs. Before we go to a full on our own police force, I think we should look at maybe a second dedicated deputy, or I know that the chief of Salida would love to encompass Poncha Springs into his district and add a couple officers. So we have options there. But eventually, yeah, we'll probably get there in 10 to 15 years, having our own police force. We've started the groundwork for that, so I think we're going in the right direction. Thank you.
Okay, great. This question goes sort of along with that last one. And this is going to be for Evalyn, then Katie, then Darryl, then Adrian. What is your opinion of Springs, Evalyn?
You broke off. What is my opinion of what?
The state of emergency services in Poncha Springs.
What is my opinion of it?
Yes.
Well, I was on the emergency management team for a while, so I'm kind of confused on what you're actually asking me. Are you asking me that we need to have one?
This is a generic question. I'm sorry. Do you need more? Does Poncha Springs need more, or is what they're doing now adequate?
Okay. No, every town as your town grows, you're always going to need more. I think working with others as your emergency management team, there is a very good one here in Chaffee County. Our emergency management team for Chaffee County is the best. They work hard. They encompass all communities. But as our town grows, we probably want to be a little bit more into that as Poncha Springs, not just Salida or the sheriff, but as a town, we need to be more workforce with them. We need to be working with them. So yes, we do need that. I do agree.
Thank you. Okay, Katie, next. Again, I'm just going to give my original. We had some clarification there, but I'm going to read the original question. What is your opinion of the state of emergency services in Poncha Springs? Katie.
I don't have a specific opinion to Poncha Springs. I think because I don't know what Poncha Springs has as far as emergency services across the county. I'm pleased with emergency services, thinking about the Decker fire, thinking about the recent fire yesterday, thinking about medical services, having the helicopter service, which I know Chaffee County doesn't own. So I feel like there is a solid structure of emergency services across the county. The questions that I would go back to again, and I've already said this in some of my other answers, is asking what is missing. If we do expand out our services in Poncha Springs, are we duplicating efforts? Is that duplication necessary? Where can we leverage the resources that we have in support of services across the county? And maybe there are other Salida or BV services that can support us in Poncha. So part of the larger conversation, exploring what the needs are.
Thank you, Katie. Darryl, same question. What is your opinion of the state of emergency services in Poncha Springs?
I think the town works really good with the county. The county has an excellent program already in place, just to help supplement that. Up at the airport, Zach has done a great job coordinating tankers, fuel, and everything else for any firefighting processes. Our Chaffee County Fire guys have that station there in Poncha. Yeah, it's about as top notch as a crew as you get for volunteer firefighting, and they do coordinate well with Salida. And yeah, I think just keep working with the program we have within the county and just keep supporting that. I think we'll be fine.
Okay. Adrian, what is your opinion of the state of emergency services in Poncha Springs?
You're muted. Unmute yourself, Adrian.
Once again, sorry. Currently, we don't have a management team, really. We just have chain of command, but we work well with all the other municipalities. Our county emergency management does a great job. Like everybody has said so far, I don't think we need to necessarily have a manager. That's just not something that I don't think any other municipality has their own manager. I think it's all works off a chain of commands. So the way it's working has been great. Like Katie said, the Decker fire was handled well. The fire on Wednesday up in Buena Vista was on top of it. Everybody responded. The Department of Transportation was involved. We were all right there ready to react and handle it. So the way it's going, I think it's pretty good right now. I don't see a need to change it.
Okay, thank you. Next question, we're starting with Katie, Darryl, Adrian, and Evalyn. And I'm taking this off the chat. What is your position on short-term rentals? Katie, unmute.
There's a place and a time for short-term rentals, and there is a crisis now with permanent accessible housing for people that live in the county. So kind of holding that, what I would call a both and. I do think that with short-term rentals, I've appreciated that Poncha did put I believe, a moratorium at one point in the past year to ensure that people that were buying up the houses really, really quickly. I mean, I got in, and it was fortunate I got in, do live in Chaffee County or have some ties to Chaffee County. So there is a larger conversation that needs to happen across the county. I'm curious whether we as Poncha Springs residents can lead that conversation with some of our successes and sharing how we approached short-term housing, but also with an eye to supporting tax base that comes in, and also long-term community members that want to live and work and raise their children here.
Thank you. Darryl, same question for you. What is your position on short-term rentals?
Well, that's one of the things we just passed on the board to make sure there was a connection to Chaffee County, keep it at a certain percentage. We don't want every single house being a short-term rental throughout, especially when we're having the housing problems we're having right now with the workforce housing and just general people, having a place for people to live and or rent or, whatever. But yeah, we need to keep that to a minimum. Investors are always going to try and come in where money's going to be easily made. And right now, Chaffee County is a big target. People want to come to Colorado, and Salida is a great place to visit. But I think there's plenty of things out there already. We don't need to make that worse on our own citizens. Thank you.
Okay. Adrian, same question. What is your position on short-term rentals?
Well, short-term rental has a time and a place.
Adrian?
I'm unmuted, right?
You're unmuted.
Okay. It has a time and a place, and it's important to a community. However, Poncha Springs led the way with slowing that down. When we implemented the Chaffee County rule, other Salida BV followed that. I think we took it a step further and requiring more forms of identification, just because the investors are out there, and that's, it's a money-making business. We need more long-term housing, long-term rentals. So keeping an eye on it, limiting it and managing it properly is important to sustaining the community.
Okay, thank you. Evalyn, same question for you.
I agree fully with Adrian and with Darryl. It needs to be managed. I understand the short-term rentals. I understand the money that could be made out there. A lot of Airbnbs. I see it all over the place. But that is rising, or one of the costs for renters. I mean, you have these short-term renters, and prices go up, and now everybody's trying to get a hold of them. So, yeah, I fully agree. It needs to be managed, and thank you for the board over the last years for passing that and keeping that managed, because yeah, that does hurt the housing when you have a lot of short-term rentals.
Okay, thank you. Round number 6, starting with Darryl, Adrian, Evalyn, and Katie. What makes an effective working relationship between the mayor and trustees and the public? That's for Darryl.
Well, the biggest thing is just open communication, respect of your fellow board members, whether you agree or not. We've had some really good discussions on the board over my time there, and we don't always agree. But that's part of the process, the diversity, which is we have people from all different workplaces and where they were raised and how they're brought up. And I think that works to our favor to be able to discuss all those things. I encourage everybody all the time to come to the meetings and be heard and know what's going on firsthand. That's what I did. And then I finally ran for the board, and here I am running again.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Adrian, what makes an effective working relationship between the mayor / trustees and the public?
That's important. I know that other municipalities, Salida doesn't have a great working environment. We hear in the past, a lot of drama that goes on. Our board is different. We do share open communication. We listen to all opinions. We encourage other people to come to the meetings, voice what's on your mind. We work well together. We don't always agree, but in the end, we agree. And that has been nice. I think that everybody has a voice, and we do our best to listen to everybody. And our mayor has done a fantastic job of maintaining good conversation and staying on track with the issues at hand. It has just worked well, and I look forward to continuing with that.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. Evalyn, what makes an effective working relationship between the mayor / trustees and the public?
The best and the only thing the biggest thing is honesty. You got to be able to have honesty in a working relationship. You got to be able to communicate. Adrian said it. It was like mayor has been awesome. He is one of the best mayors I've seen. He's willing to talk to anybody. He's willing to listen to people. He's always open to conversation. And that's one of the key things, is that the public can come up and they can talk to him. They know him. He's a person. He's not just some guy behind a desk. So that is the key thing, is the open communication and honesty. You got to be honest. You got to be able to work with everybody. If you don't have that, you can't have a communication, and you can't have a trustee or a board. Nobody can work together. So, yeah.
Okay, and finally, for Katie, same question. What makes an effective working relationship between the mayor / trustees and the public?
Yeah, I heard some of these answers already with the other candidates, but I think in my experience working with and managing conflict, there's always the opportunity to rally around shared values. The approach may be different, but I feel like underlying values are more than likely in alignment. So understanding that consensus isn't 100% agreement, but it means being in support of, right? You may not agree with it, but you're in support of. And I think that those things are reflections of a communication style that's transparent, and that there's civil dialogue, being able to push back and have conversations and not just get the response. We tried it that way, it didn't work. We tried it that way, it didn't work. What can we do differently this time? Or could we try, this out over here? So civil dialogue, transparency, rallying around shared values, and understanding that consensus isn't 100% agreement, but it is in support of.
Thank you. I'm going to take another question from the chat. And thank you for those people who have been directing those. And I can relate to this one. When you think of Poncha Springs and your role as a trustee or future trustee, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night? That goes to Adrian.
The one thing that keeps me up at night is usually my neighbors. It's a community here. This place is a wonderful place to live, and it's enjoyable. I know everybody on this street that I live on. That's what keeps me up at night, is spending time with my neighbors because of the community we've created. What else keeps me up at night is wondering how I can get my kids to come back home. And housing is my number one issue. I think about it a lot, and my wheels are always turning when it comes to that.
Thank you. Evalyn, same question for you. When you think of Poncha Springs in your role as a future trustee, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
Probably community, making sure I make the right decision. I have a lot of sleepless nights in my job as I stand, is making sure I'm doing the right thing at all times, and making sure that my actions don't double back and everybody's safe. So safety is always a key issue. So yeah, the housing and the safety does keep me up. I wonder about my neighbors, like Adrian, staying up, thinking about what I can do better for somebody else. I'm always trying to do the best for somebody else, and I want to continue to do the best, and I don't want to hurt anybody. My decisions, I don't want to make any of my decisions to make sure it be always right, or not always perfect, but close to.
Okay, thank you. Katie, same question. When you think of Poncha Springs and your role as a future trustee, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
I wake up with the I don't know what I don't know panic, I think, when I'm thinking about this role, but then I can put myself back to sleep knowing that somebody knows the answer. And so it's just about asking good questions so that I can find out the answer. I also, like Adrian and Evalyn, think about housing a lot. I'm grateful and I'm lucky that I was able to come back, and that's not the case for a lot of my friends and my family. So figuring out ways to make Poncha Springs an inclusive community across all economic, like for accessible housing, affordable housing, short-term rentals, whatever it is, permanent housing. But yeah, housing and making this community more inclusive so that everybody feels like they have a voice and a place here in Poncha Springs. The history of Poncha Springs is brought into the present.
Thank you, Katie. Darryl, same question for you. When you think of Poncha Springs in your role as a trustee, what is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
I think the biggest, we've all hit on some really key issues, but with the growth of Poncha Springs that we're experiencing and probably will experience for a while yet, how do we still keep a small town atmosphere, where we do know our neighbors and et cetera? That's a hard equation to solve. In some ways, I think we're doing a great job on, the way we're building. But at the same time, I think we all get lost in, trying to make those payments, and how do we keep those housing costs from getting crazier than they already are. Some of that might be out of our hands, but I think we're tackling what we can as a board and as a small town. So there you go.
Okay, here's another question from the chat. And this is going to Evalyn to start with. What kind of businesses would you like to see opened in Poncha Springs, and what are your thoughts on how to attract them?
That's a good question. So people have approached me, if you look, a lot of it is restaurants. we're losing a lot of restaurants. As you've noticed, I heard Wallbangers is now starting to close. We've lost the best Italian restaurant in town. That thing was awesome. So I think trying to attract new people by, bringing them in where not only can they afford a house, but their employees can afford a house, because that seems to be the issue. Nobody can live here. Nobody can work here and live here. So to address that problem would be to say, bring your stuff in here. We're going to try to help you. But it collaborative bargaining. We got to bring everybody together. Once again, I would like to see more industry of workers and housing, something that everybody can enjoy, and outdoors, like outdoors.
Thank you. Katie, same question for you. What kind of businesses would you like to see opened in Poncha Springs, and what are your thoughts on how to attract them?
Yeah, I agree with the restaurants, and I think just kind of pulling it back out larger level, looking at businesses that support year-round economy and revenue growth. And, what are the needs right now in Poncha Springs? Have we done an assessment of what businesses would be really important to have here right now, and businesses that bring in jobs with wages that then families can buy houses here in Poncha Springs. And as far as attracting them, I do feel like we have some wonderful resources across the county with our chambers, with the Small Business Development Council, with the Economic Development Council. And so maybe having some conversations with those different entities to figure out what opportunities they have for us to share more about Poncha Springs and our needs to bring businesses in that may be important to have here in Poncha Springs. So using the resources that we have and paying attention to identifying what the priorities are that we have identified for businesses to come in.
Thank you. Darryl, same question for you. What kind of businesses would you like to see opened in Poncha Springs, and what are your thoughts on how to attract them?
Well, we're slowly attracting the businesses. A lot of that due to the new land use code that we worked hard to develop starting 8 years ago and coming forward. I'd love to see some good paying light industry type jobs. We have a few small ones in there in the industrial park. Elevation has, some good employee and good benefits. That's a pretty new addition to the town. Not saying we need more brew pubs, but they seem to be doing well in Colorado. But some light industry type that, has a little higher wage. Love to see restaurants go in, but hard to find workers and have a place for them to live. When even if you start them out at $15 an hour, it's still going to be hard to find a place to live. So I think that'll come if we have the other businesses and the light industry come first. We'll have to see what happens.
Okay, thank you, Darryl. And finally, Adrian, the same question. What kind of businesses would you like to see opened in Poncha Springs, and what are your thoughts on how to attract them here?
Well, I'm with Darryl. Our land use code created some new zonings and options. Our live work has made it possible. It hasn't quite taken off yet, but I think it's a great option, making that community up in Monarch Crossing walkable. Some retail shops are always good, right? Restaurants, Colorado Outpost, what they're building right there on the corner is just an amazing building. And I believe wholeheartedly that in itself is going to be a draw to this community moving forward. I think, Legree's, the grocery store, our requirements and everything are attractive. We can build them, they just have to come. So I don't know really how to bring them here, but we can make this place more desirable for that to happen.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. We're going to do two more questions. The next one is starting with Katie. And again, this is from the chat. If outside of housing, if elected, what is the #1 capital project you would like to see done to improve the town?
Well, my mind immediately goes to water and sewer and water. I think being in a desert environment and being reliant on other entities for some of our infrastructure, just being aware of that and what are the priorities around that specific need for water and sewer that we can start to bite off in incremental steps. It's hard to think outside of housing, but I appreciate that question. I'm curious to know more about the schools and the school district expansion here in Poncha Springs. I don't know a lot about that. I also know that Poncha is growing and the number of kids and families coming to this community is growing. And so where can we support children in learning, and what is the role of Poncha in building schools would be, I guess, my second infrastructure curiosity. Thank you.
Thanks. Darryl, same question for you. Outside of housing, if elected, what is the #1 capital project you would like to see done to improve the town?
So a lot of that we've already started with our sidewalk and street revamping project. That's an ongoing thing. I really like that. The biggest thing, and I've heard a lot of people discuss it, is we really need to get with the post office and figure something out for either a new building or a new system. Because it's just crazy at the post office right now. I think that would be one major thing I'd like to tackle and get that figured out before we get another 400 people in town and it just compounds the issue.
Okay, thank you, Darryl. Adrian, same question for you. Outside of housing, if elected, what is the #1 capital project you would like to see done to improve the town?
So the #1 was water, and we've already handled that. We're sitting good there for many years to come. Taking care of our infrastructure, our streets, curb, sidewalks, all that, improve that, which, most of our roads have all been dirt roads that have been chip sealed. So, we're working on getting a fresh layer of asphalt to last for us. The post office is humongous. That has been a problem for many years. I don't know how we can address that. We've offered it to them. They don't want to play yet, but we're working on that continually. But the #1 thing that my goal is to have a rec center for this community. Chaffee County is one of the few counties in Colorado that doesn't even have a rec center. That was on my agenda from the very beginning, and we're still working towards that, and would like to follow through with that before we're done.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. Evalyn, same question for you. Outside of housing, if elected, what is the #1 capital project you would like to see done to improve the town?
Well, they hit on all of them already. Biggest one for me, like everybody, it was like sewer and water. I know water's been taken, sewer, I question quite a bit. But like Adrian, a rec center, we need something here in Poncha, something that is easily accessible and nice, something that the kids can go to. We have beautiful parks. I hands down, our parks are gorgeous, and Brian and Ben have done an awesome job in taking care of them and getting them designed. I know my kids love them, they go to them. But right now, I think my biggest concern would probably be the post office, because first one to tell you, I have issues with them. It is just not big enough for our town growing. So yeah, we need to continue work on the post office, big time.
Okay, and here comes the last question, and then we'll do a 1 minute a closing statement from each of you. Starting with Darryl this time. In your opinion, what makes the town of Poncha Springs a great place to live?
Well, first off, just the people. I think the people that tend to come to the small towns are just, for lack of a better word, more enjoyable. I love I mean, I've been here since '98. Town has grown quite a bit since then. I like the people. I like the feel of the community. It's a great place to live. I know a lot of people tease that we end up being a bedroom community for Salida. I think that's changing rapidly right now. But yeah, mostly just the people that live here. I love it.
Okay. Thank you, Darryl. Adrian, same question for you. In your opinion, what makes the town of Poncha Springs a great place to live?
This town is beautiful. That's what drew me here. It is just a great community. It does still have a small town feel. Yes, it has grown a lot, but the people that are coming here are looking for that continued small town. So a lot of people have that same mentality. The community is great. The townspeople, you know, our public works division does a fantastic job keeping up with everything. I just look around and I just see greatness here. It's pretty simple for me.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. Evalyn, in your opinion, what makes the town of Poncha Springs a great place to live?
The Rocky Mountains. Pretty simple. It's beautiful. And that's what brings people here, is because there's hiking and fishing. Skiing is not that far away. It is centrally located for its astounding beauty, and people do come here because of it, because there's a lot of outdoor activity and stuff to do. That's what attracts people, is just the beauty and the people. That's me.
Okay, thank you, Evalyn. And Katie, last question. In your opinion, what makes the town of Poncha Springs a great place to live?
How can I build off of views and the people? Those were the two that came to mind for me. But I think that thinking about their Poncha Springs commitment to building community and having these tougher conversations, I mean, there's a whole lot of growth happening, and we're willing to have the conversations and to make it the best that we think it can be. So that is really exciting to me and makes me really happy that I'm in Poncha. I've lived in Salida, I've lived in BV, and my home is in Poncha. And also the people, because you've got the past, the present, and the future all kind of mingling together and trying to figure out how to make it work. And there's a lot of great thinking here, and I'm excited to see where those ideas take us.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's everybody, and that's our 10 questions for the night. Thanks to everybody. We're going to have a 1-minute closing statement, and we'll go the opposite way we started, and means we're going Evalyn, Adrian, Katie, and Darryl. So Evalyn, you have 1 minute. If you will unmute, and you can tell us one last thing. 1 minute.
Don't know what to say. That's a first. Yeah. Adrian agrees with that one. One last thing to say is just I look forward to being able to work for the town, or to be able to be part of a town, to make the community a community, to help out, to be able to work with Ben and Brian and Adrian and the rest of them on the team. Whether elected or not, I still want to be part of it, and I still want to be in the loops so that my voice is heard. And that's one of my big concerns, is to let the community be heard. That's one of the things I think needs to happen, is that we need to listen to the community.
Thank you, Evalyn. Adrian, 1 minute.
Well, as we know, this county is off the charts with growth. And so my first and foremost for this town is to make smart decisions, do our best to keep it affordable, place that our kids can come back to. I see a continued great future with Poncha Springs. If I'm reelected, I'll continue to be a voice for the people and continue to work on affordability, workforce housing, And hopefully we can make this community self-sustain and continue to be great.
Okay, thanks, Adrian. Katie, 1 minute to close it out.
Yeah, I think what comes to mind for me is, you know, the excitement at bringing, which I just said in my past response, bringing the past, present, and the future into conversations and being able to build something that's great for our community, that's in support of sustainable growth, that's in support of revenue diversification, that's in support of people being able to live and work where they want to live and work in a way that's not so taxing on them and their families. So, you know, if elected, I'm new to the political scene, as I mentioned, but also know that there is a lot of history here. I recognize family names. I recognize names from when I lived here before, 10 years ago. And so I am just looking forward to digging into the more challenging topics, identifying where our shared values are as a community, and making great decisions to move us all forward in a sustainable way.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And Darryl, 1 minute for you, and we'll get ready for a cocktail.
Sounds good, Scott. I want to thank you for putting this on. I'd love to continue serving the town. I love where we live. I'd like to keep that small town look, but we know it's going to grow. You can't stop that. So keep doing what we're doing and just keep providing that service to the people, to be their voice, and and keep going on and do what we do. Appreciate everybody's time.
Okay, thank you, Darryl, and thank you all candidates, and thanks for the league volunteers. Tell all your friends that this will a recording of this will be available on the League of Women Voters of Chaffee County website, LWVCC.org, in the next couple days, and hopefully we'll have some more people who have the opportunity to hear. I remember 8 years ago when I first did that first forum, I thought, I want to live in Poncha Springs. And, you know, I don't think things have changed that much. And I think it looks like a great place to live. And with that, I think we're going to end. And Margie, you can stop recording.